So welcome to the Tech Talk series hosted by the Connecticut Technology Council. We are excited to bring you an informative talk by the UConn School of Engineering on ways the tech industry can engage with the university. You can learn more about CT or Connecticut Tech Council at ct.org. Now to our featured speakers.
Fantastic. Thank you, Simon. Hi, everyone. Kylene Paris here. I'm the Assistant Dean for Administrative Operations and Strategic Initiatives for the UConn School of Engineering. Before I pull up my slide deck, I just wanted to make sure you could put a face with a name, as well as my colleagues that are joining us here today. You can see we have Rory McGloin, who leads communication efforts with our school. Also, Don Swinton, he leads our advancement efforts. And Lisa McGuire, you will also see on screen, she leads our career services. So I am going to share my screen with you all right now. Bear with me for one moment. Okay, can folks just give me a thumbs up that you can see? Okay, good, thank you. All right, so you can see here, this is a list of our team and specific titles so that you can now see a title and place a face with a name. So I'm just going to jump right in. As far as engagement opportunities and how UConn School of Engineering can be a resource to you, I know that we have a broad variety of different types of companies that are members through the Connecticut Technology Council. So I'll go through step by step, just different ideas on how we think we might be able to be a resource to you. And certainly we could dig in on more one-on-one conversations with each of you on an individual basis. So you can see here the first bullet, I have PhDs, research, SBIR, and STTR support. So certainly I know our Executive Director and Associate Dean for the School of Engineering, Pamir Alpay, he has done some tech talks in the past with CTC and talked to your folks about our technology park. So certainly a lot of research opportunities that are home-based there on Discovery Drive on the store's campus. I list PhDs here because I think it's important for folks to understand that, we are looking for opportunities to work with folks that may be interested in upskilling, receiving their PhD. We have worked with companies where there are arrangements put in place for staff to seek out their PhD either on a part-time or full-time basis, and then take that knowledge and pull that back into the company. SBIR and STTR support, we do work closely with folks at the Small Business Development Center, SBDC, and also Connecticut Innovations as well, and through CT Next. So we do offer different discussion sessions at our tech park to make sure that those connections happen. So we would be happy to make those connects for you. You can see also here on the second bullet, senior design. So senior design is really an opportunity to kind of rent to buy. I like framing it as that, where you get to really try out student opportunities, working together with a team of our students. So what is senior design? Our undergraduate students, they go through from soup to nuts from the beginning of their senior year through to commencement. They work on their senior design capstone project. Typically, these projects are in collaboration with a sponsor. Sponsorship is typically handled directly through the department, and it varies the cost, the modest fee, it varies dependent upon the actual department out of our 7 departments. So that's negotiated directly with those folks. But just know that it's typically sometimes a back burner project or something that the company wants to dig into for research opportunities. And it gives you a chance to kind of test drive our students and really, see, what it's like to work with the students directly, as well as a faculty advisor is assigned to that student team. So you get to certainly see who the shining stars are on that team. And many times there are job opportunities that are offered to those students longer term. So it's a great way to help with creating a good workforce pipeline into your company. So I'd be happy to provide more information upon request for that. Professional education, I will explain to you folks kind of big picture that we offer different credit-bearing programs and non-credit-bearing programs to working professionals. So what do I mean by credit-bearing versus non-credit-bearing? Credit-bearing means advanced engineering certificates that ultimately would lead to receiving a Master of Engineering degree. This is all for working professionals. So it would be part-time basis that folks go into the program. And our programs have actually been online, both asynchronous and synchronous, meaning real time the way we are right now, as well as pre-recorded lectures and discussion sessions set up afterwards. We've been in this format and handled it through this modality even prior to COVID, because we are, working towards helping folks that are juggling, working full time and seeking to continue their education. So those are some opportunities that we provide. And then also we have non-credit opportunities, which is really identified by maybe someone in your management team that says, okay, I have a cohort of X, Y, and Z number of folks on this unit team where we could really use expertise in teaching them how to do this skill. So we would work directly with you to be able to put together a more customized training and development opportunity. One of those opportunities that we'll be talking about a little further in our discussion today is through Rory McLoyne's collaboration with us and really teaching engineers and other folks, not just the engineering folks, but kind of company-wide, how to communicate with one another, as well as how to communicate with external folks to your company. So we'll dig into that a little bit later, but just know that we do provide upskilling opportunities, both credit bearing and non-credit bearing, some that are negotiable in cost and some that certainly are regular fee-based programs. So I would be happy to connect with any of you on that for further information. As far as curriculum feedback, advisory board participation, so I like to make sure that folks know that if you are looking to figure out ways to work together with the UConn School of Engineering, but you're sitting there scratching your head saying, all right, we go to the career fairs, from time to time, maybe a couple of other things, but we're not really finding that connect back. This is another way that you can also get involved. So ultimately, it is up to the discretion of one of our 7 department heads to determine whether or not there's additional space for their industrial advisory board. But when there is, it's a great way to not only network and interact with other company representatives that sit on that board, but certainly there is opportunity for discussion as far as curriculum feedback and guiding and providing guidance on what industry is really looking for. So if this is something that's of interest to you, we absolutely can make the introduction to our department heads, and then you can be in the queue as far as when an opportunity opens up, or if there is something that's already available, they may say, please join us for our next meeting. As far as workforce pipeline, talent recruitment, I have my colleague Lisa McGuire on the line as well, and she will dig in a couple slides from now in more detail on workforce pipeline, but just know that we are doing a lot of different things working with industry to make sure that we are trying to create a deep, steep pipeline to help you all out. As far as strategic initiatives, a couple of examples that I want to just relay along to you on other ways you can get involved. So under my title, Assistant Dean, Administrative Operations and Strategic Initiatives, this is what I mean when I refer to strategic initiatives. So an example of some of the things that I'm currently involved in or have previously been involved in. So right now I'm knees deep in the Build Back Better Regional Challenge. This is an opportunity that's been put forward by the EDA, the Economic Development Agency through the federal agencies, that is really looking to churn economic development in various regions. So this is a collaboration, and UConn is one of many stakeholders. The Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, CCAT, is another stakeholder on this proposal that we're working on, Connecticut College, certainly Sector, the economic development group for that region, and so forth. So my point in making this pitch to you is that there are many larger federal initiatives and sometimes state initiatives as well, where it takes a village, and it's really important for us to work together hand in glove with our industry partners. We do have several companies that are involved, and we will be reaching out to make sure that there is that overlap with this specific proposal that we're working on. The autonomous vehicle track, this is another great example. So right now, UConn we've been in discussion for over probably a year and a half with a private developer that's talking about creating a track out at our Depot campus on the Stores campus. Certainly, there are a lot of moving parts to this discussion. Nothing is set in stone. This is all really still not infancy stage, but still early phase discussion to figure out, where we are and where we're headed. Now we have the Connecticut State Police that are interested in possibly collaborating with us, maybe some of the tech high schools. So this wouldn't just be an autonomous vehicle track, it would be more of a smart city opportunity. So that has implications across the board from certainly from engineering all the way through to policy. So just a lot of different ways that we could collaborate potentially for something like that. And then you see Manufacturing USA here. This was an initiative that was previously set down through the Obama administration, and UConn was involved in these three that you see linked here: the Smart Manufacturing Initiative, it was the robotics, ARM, Advanced Robotics, Manufacturing Institute, NextFlex, Flexible Electronics, Human Factors, and so forth. So for any of those opportunities that we were on to be successful, it's a collaboration that's public and private. So not only were there academic institutions that were partnering, but also we had small, medium, and large size companies that we looked to try to bring in to win the award together. So just food for thought. My last kind of big plug before I have Lisa jump in here, I wanted to make just a piece of activity that's going on in the School of Engineering. I wanted to bring it to the forefront. So you see here neurodiversity efforts at UConn. So you can see since 2014, there have been a lot of programs that have been focused on neurodiversity that have been launched at UConn. So when we say neurodiversity, what do we mean? You can see here the focus of the programs was initially on folks that have ADHD, and since then it's been expanded. So whether it's autism, ADHD, there are a lot of different types of different thinking patterns that fall under this neurodiversity initiative. But rather than it being looked at and almost there being implications that are more negative connotations about it being something that holds folks back, we have made strides in different efforts to really take a strength-based approach to these neurological differences. So the School of Engineering, we have been involved in several grant opportunities. Our faculty, we have several experts in this field. And so if there's an opportunity to work together in this realm, we would welcome it with open arms. So I wanted to make sure that folks were looped in on this. So I am going to hand the mic over to my colleague, Lisa McGuire from our Center for Career Development.
Thanks, Kai. And as everybody's so used to hearing, I hope you can hear me. And I know my colleagues know my slides well enough so that if I do get disconnected, please just jump in, because I've already lost the feed 3 times this morning. Anyway, so it's easy to recruit at UConn through the Center for Career Development. We have a free job board, so you don't have to pay the Indeed fees. It's free at UConn, career.uconn.edu, and that's for jobs and internships. We also have the opportunity and free space to come to campus if you're so inclined to interview students. Pre-pandemic, that was extremely busy. It's slowed down, certainly, but we still do have employers coming to campus to interview our students. We also, as Kylene had mentioned earlier, we have career fairs. We have one coming up for internship and co-op on Tuesday. That is at present the only thing we actually charge for, and that's frankly because we have overhead on that. But you're welcome to come to career fairs. It's a great way to recruit. We have an engineering only career fair scheduled for March 9th. March 7th, and you're welcome to come. Actually, I'm sorry, that's full.
So it sounds like our colleague Lisa may have lost. Connect there. Let's see, Lisa, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead. You left off with career fairs and you chopped out. Okay,
sorry. And I do have the message that it's unstable. I'll turn my video off and see if that helps. Doesn't generally. Anyway, career fairs, we have an engineering career fair on March 7th, and then that's on campus. We have an on-campus career fair on March 29th and a virtual career fair if you're not ready or comfortable recruiting on campus on March 30th. And those are the only thing that we charge for. Everything else in terms of recruiting talent is free through the UConn Center for Career Development. We also have career campus awareness opportunities where we welcome you to come, especially alums, but anyone to come and maybe serve on a panel or talk to students about careers in whatever industry that you focus on. So, we might have an opportunity for employers who are hiring biomedical engineering students, and then we'll invite student groups, et cetera, to come and listen about the career opportunities, because none of us know what we don't know what we don't know, and students included. So it's great to expose them to career opportunities. And then finally, we also have an opportunity to promote your application job postings to our regional campus students. We have regional campuses, as many of you know, most of you know, that we have regional campuses in Stamford, Waterbury, Hartford, and Every Point, which is the Growt, New London area. And we have newsletters that go to those regional campus students specifically about career and career opportunities. So if you can just change the slide once, and I'll wrap up and hopefully not lose you. And then I just wanted to share a screenshot of one of the resources on the career page at UConn, and with the sources right there. We do a lot of research on first destination data. So where do students go right out of UConn? So you can use this as a resource for average salaries, starting salaries, where the students go. This particular page is engineering students specifically. But we have it for every major. The larger majors, we aggregate some of the smaller majors, but this can give you some sort of baseline information if you're interested in salaries, et cetera, and where our students are going. If anyone has any questions, please throw them in the chat. Happy to help you tap that talent that we have at UConn.
Super, thank you, Lisa. And I'll ask my UConn colleagues, because I'm sharing my screen, I cannot see the questions in the chat. So if there is anything that we should address, just let me know, just chime in and interrupt me. Okay, our next speaker is Don Swinton.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Donald Swinton, and I'm the Director of Development for the School of Engineering. Bottom line, we are here to help you. That's it. We're the state's land-grant university and a sea-grant university, and we're given the charge of helping industry expand and grow and hire people to make this state a better place. And so we are happy to hear any of us are happy to hear from you. We all speak to one another. We all pass leads on to make sure it gets to the right place. But basically, I work with companies. I help them brand themselves by working with UConn. I help them with public relations, as they want their employees and their customers to know that they have alliances with UConn. I help them with getting students in, whether they be undergraduate or graduate students. Undergraduate engineering students, of course, come out with 4 years of education. Graduate students come out with expertise in a specific field, so some companies need that expertise. And I help align companies with research that they might need. This research can be specific in an area of, say, material science, or it can be very general. You might incrementally want to just improve a part of your manufacturing process. We have a technology park, which we call the Innovation Partnership Building, where we have a specific area helping manufacturers improve their manufacturing processes. We also work with your employees. We want, if you want to help recruiting, employee alliances are generally a terrific way to reach back into the University of Connecticut School of Engineering and find young talent. We build networks and we strengthen camaraderie by having businesses who might be working with recruiting with Lisa, or they might be working in continuing education with Rory and Kylene, or they might be working in research. They might all want to come back and go to a basketball game, as far as they're bringing up camaraderie within their own company. So we are here to help you, and call any of us. We are happy to help. This is our job. This is our charge. Thank you.
Super. Thank you, Don. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because we are just going to do a quick swap off after we kick off Rory. So Rory, you have the mic.
Thanks, Kylene. Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you to Simon and the Tech Council, Denise, Jacqueline, Mitchell, Sherry, Tom. We see you and thanks for joining us, spending some time with us on your lunch break. We hope you're all keeping well. My name is Roy McGloin. I am a Connecticut native and obviously highly invested in the overall health and well-being of our state's economy, driven by many of you in the organizations for which you work. As Don just pointed out, we're here to help. And so I come in as the communications specialist here this afternoon. I'll wear that hat for just a moment. I'm the associate director for the School of Engineering's professional development program, and working with all of our great faculty, graduate and undergraduate students to bring you customized communication training and development for your teams, for your organizations, to help you both personally and professionally share those messages that you know are critical to your organization's overall success. So my objective, as recently stated, I just want to provide a little overview, but I'm going to go one step further. I want to challenge you a little bit here this afternoon and just spend a few minutes to reflect upon your value of communication. So when was the last time that you invested in improving your communication skills? How often do communication challenges come up for you on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis within your organization? Have you sat and watched a presentation recently and wondered, this could be better? Have you been part of a team where you thought, you know, if our communication was a little bit more efficient, we might save time and ultimately make better decisions? And that is at the heart of what we do and what we're now bringing, thanks to the innovative and entrepreneurial nature of Kylene leading our professional education team, and now John Bartolotta, who has stepped into that role. So let's do this. Let's pose some questions. So first and foremost, I really enjoy this quote, and I often use it to get people to challenge their mindset on communication. Erwin Schrödinger, who you might know best for Schrödinger's cat experiment, Nobel Prize winner at the turn of the century in quantum mechanics. If you cannot, in the long run, tell everyone what you've been doing, your doing has been worthless. And that might be a little hard for some of us to swallow here on a Tuesday afternoon, but let's think about it for a moment, right? As engineers and as manufacturers and as people at the forefront of innovations in our state, the best ideas that exist in your head are only as powerful as the way that you can persuade and convince those around you to enact on those ideas. And especially at the forefront of a tech council, you recognize that you're constantly trying to persuade and influence those around you to adopt your best practices. And so those best practices are only as good as your ability to persuade and influence those around you. So from the very beginning, we start with ourselves. We want to influence individuals on your team, and we're doing that in a range of ways, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. Secondly, let's talk about your internal teams. I have a quote for that too. One of my favorite authors, Simon Sinek, hopefully you saw some of his stuff, Start With Why, and other books, such as his recent acclaimed winner of Leaders Eat Last. A team is not a group of people that work together. A team is a group of people that trust each other. And I think for many of you working in engineering and manufacturing spaces, this is critical. There are going to be many things that come across your desk or your desktop on a given day. Recommendations, ideas, innovations, who we should hire, retain, recruit, who to partner with. And you are basing so many of your decisions on the people on your team, what they say and what they recommend. Do you trust them? Do you believe in them? Do you empower them? If you're finding yourself constantly wondering, or maybe kind of going back and rethinking some of those ideas or some of those recommendations, then we got to look at trust. And to me, trust starts with a reciprocal exchange of self-disclosure. So does your team trust one another? May hinge upon, does your team genuinely know each other? So much of our lives have been disrupted because we based our trust on face-to-face interactions. You had a gut in your heart that told you, I like it, I love it, let's go with it. And we have potentially lost that. But there are ways that I think we can replace and displace some of those feelings in the virtual world. We've actually done some great sessions over the last year with some of your colleagues and counterparts around the state and various engineering firms. More on that in a second. But one more, after you have worked on yourself and you've worked on your team, it's then of course time to take a look at the external world, right? And take a look at how others are seeing us. So I want you to think, for those of you who are responsible for potentially your team's brand, for potentially the organization sales and development, and that are involved in the business side of things, When your name is brought up in meetings and in panels across the state and across this globe, what are the thoughts that people have when they hear it? What do they think of? What are the ideas, best practices, value propositions that are synonymous with who you are? And so one of the things that we're able to do is to take our expertise, not just in communication, but obviously in engineering, and to be able to come and work with teams and take a step back and say, look, why don't we redesign some of the ways that we're communicating internally to try to have a better value proposition when we move externally? And I love this quote from Tae-Yeon Kim, a great martial arts grandmaster, but an entrepreneur, South Korean born, abandoned by her parents, and then went on to write many books and to become a really prestigious award winner. She says, our actions are guaranteed to affect others. Let that sink in for a minute. Your actions are guaranteed to affect others, no matter what. If I ask you a question and you don't respond, that impacts me just as much as what you say. Because we're not alone in this world, much of our learning about ourselves comes from our interaction with others. Our relationships are our teachers. We learn from one another. So we have a lot to learn from you as much as we have to be able to provide. As Don and Kylene and Lisa pointed out, yes, we're here to support you, but we also cherish the opportunity to engage with you, because what that does is it teaches us. We learn and we grow. We hear about your challenges. I've had the pleasure of working on this team now for almost 2 years. And it's been incredibly mind-opening for me, because some of the challenges that have been presented to me from a communication standpoint are things I hadn't encountered. We went out, we researched, we gathered, we curated, and we came back with solutions that I think help teams in an immediate way, but also got them thinking about their long-term goals. So real quickly, in just a few minutes, let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges that I know you're facing. And this is probably one that you're thinking about on a daily basis. This is the process of communication. And for those of you who are history buffs, or you might be interested in a little bit of trivia, but the original SMCR, sender, message, channel, receiver, the basis for all theoretical underpinnings of the study of communication, was actually originated by engineers coming from the telephone industry. When they were installing telephone poles and operators and lines, they had to understand and explain to train the operators, and that was all thanks to engineers. So for those engineers out there that say communication's not for us, well, you started it. So thanks very much, and we're here to now support you for that. So if we look at this model for just one moment, at the very center of it, you'll see channel of the message. And I don't need to convince you that the channel that which we're communicating on has a direct influence on how others perceive you. Right now, I am probably at most a 1 inch by 2 inch rectangle on your screen, potentially competing with the World Wide Web for your attention. Does that impact your ability to pay attention, to synthesize, to respond, to interrupt? Absolutely. And so you have to now work within the confines of the channel to be the most impactful that you can. It goes without saying we're spending a lot of time in virtual. So what is your team doing to improve your overall virtual presentation and team meeting skills? And this has been something that we've been working with organizations on for the past 18 months. But as Kai said, we were here before COVID. We'll be here hopefully long after COVID as well. So this is not something that we responded to. This was something that we were prepared for. And so we started to look at what are these norms. And so we see some of these norms coming into play, but we have some programs right now, and we're going to be hopefully rolling out some more programs later this year that folks on your team or organizations can sign up for on their own, and we'll be sharing some information with you on that. But focusing on virtual best practices. So how do we deliver effectively in this space? One of my favorite topics and to have critical conversations with your team is, what's the right channel for the message? So this morning, we decided that this would be Zoom. We decided we would turn our cameras on, but why? Because we felt as if that would provide us the best experience. We're hypothesizing that it would. Does it? Ask yourself that question. So the next time you send out a Zoom meeting, or you say, let's meet on Teams, ask yourself, should it be an email? Should it be a phone call, right? Should this be face-to-face? Maybe the email should precede the video meeting, or maybe the video meeting should precede the email. And those decisions are having a direct influence on whether or not your great idea will ultimately be adopted. And if you're not critically thinking about the ordering of your message and the channel and the affordances associated with the channel, then you're missing out on the true power of communication. So for engineers who spend so much of their time innovating, I think it's time that we take a step back and innovate the way that we approach all of our digital channels. So that's one of the programs and areas that we've been focusing on. It's a lot of fun, and it also can be something that I think is valuable for our personal lives as well. So next, obviously, we had talked about this a little bit earlier, but decision-making is oftentimes directly reflective of your trust. And your trust, as we know from the literature, has a lot to do with rapport. So rapport being this feel, this gut, right? Do I have great rapport with this person? Can I disclose information to them? Can I tell them secrets, right? Can I give them information that I will trust with them? And usually what we tend to see is that as rapport goes up, trust goes up. And as trust goes up, time for decision-making goes down. Now, there's one exception where that's not good, right? And we can look to maybe the Challenger space shuttle explosion as an example of groupthink. So never in an engineering room would I want to embrace the concept of groupthink. However, with that being said, if time is now being wasted churning around the same ideas and it becomes an inefficiency on your team and you're ultimately arriving at the same conclusion that you would have last week, but the communication channels are broken or there's a lack of distrust, then we want to fix this, right? And so intentionally, one of the things that I love about our programs is that I get to come in and play a third-party facilitator. And as you might know, for those of you with children, right, this is always a great role, right? If you have children in your life, you've asked your kids to do something, you have coaches in your life, they ask your kids to do something, you've been asking them to do it for like 5 years. The coach says, hey, you know what you should do? And they're like, that's a great idea. Well, I get to kind of have a little bit of fun on my Monday through Fridays from 9 to 5. I get to be the coach. And a lot of times, if you're a manager or a leader of teams and you've been trying to really push your team or organization and saying, we have to adopt these principles and it's not happening, sometimes it's nice to bring in somebody else who can provide a critical response, maybe provide some of that feedback, try to push the team in a direction. And it's not coming because I'm employed by the organization, but instead I'm there to simply further advance your mission. And so we like to work with managers. We love working with human resource officers who are sometimes a little bit handicapped, right? They've been sharing and passing along these messages, but maybe they're not getting the attention. They're not getting the buy-in or the response, the rapport. So that's what we're here for, right? We're here to bring it in and to make it fun and engaging, but to also advance those relationships to make your day-to-day a little bit better. What does this look like? Interpersonal communication in small groups. Sometimes this can be a challenge for engineers, especially when they're working with non-engineers, is developing that relationship where they can speak the same language. And then also, this was a recent one that we worked on, which was really exciting. We worked for a company here in Connecticut, and they came to us having a particular challenge. They were creating all these instruction manuals they were sending to the shop floor, and the shop floor was struggling with them. And they came to us and they basically said, hey, look, something's broken here, right? We're not sure if it's the instructions. We're not sure if it's what's going on the shop floor. We're not sure if it's the instructions themselves, but we need your help. And I really appreciate, right, anybody that comes to us and says, something's broken, it's not working, we need to get a little bit better, because 1 or 2% can make a big difference for the size and scale of some of these projects. And we did. And the best part about it is we actually started with the message senders. The last thing that I wanted to do in that scenario was to say, oh, well, the shop floor is broken, right? They're not listening or they're not understanding. No, we started with the message senders. We took a giant step back. We wanted to increase their empathy. Let's have them actually dialing into what it's like to receive those instructions. And we overhauled the process by which they built and refined their instruction manuals. And that was something that they put into practice probably within days of us wrapping up our session. So we do have immediate impact. And we do have the ability to impact your bottom line. And then finally, we're all guilty of this, myself included, of course, barriers to listening. So we're just waiting for our turn to talk. We're judging. We just want to be right. And this can be a real problem, especially if you have managers or executives on your team who have been in place for a long time, and maybe they are set in their traditional ways. Maybe working in places like Zoom or virtual spaces have been challenging. Maybe we're not adopting or adapting to new contemporary standards for communication channels. So coming in and being able to sometimes challenge teams and to get them to think about, how is it that I'm being perceived by others? I love this. So we can go back to basics. We can focus on public speaking. We can focus on audience analysis. And my favorite, storytelling. Yes, that means storytelling has place in the engineering workplace, because chances are people will not remember everything you say, but they likely are more likely to retain that information if it's told in a memorable manner. That's why books and movies and novels and shows have been around for so long, because they work, they're effective, yet we don't see them in the workplace, yet we're not teaching our young people or our incumbents to be able to use storytelling methods. So if you're thinking about recruitment and retention, if you're thinking about mentoring programs, this is where storytelling matters, right? So if you've got somebody on the shop floor right now, been there 40 years, we know the silver tsunami is coming. You're thinking about recruiting. You need to get those folks to stay. One of the ways that I think we can inspire the next generation is, like, let's have a better mentoring program. Let's make sure that folks that are on the shop floor who are able to pass along great stories, who can be looked up at in a way where they're admirable by those young people, might give them some hope to want to stay, so that one day they can fulfill those roles. And if we're not coaching the mentors, then how can we say that the mentees are going to want to stay and stick around? And we know that we have a workforce issue, and Lisa was sharing some content just earlier this morning. We have jobs, and yet how are we going to fill them? And I think one of the things that we need to do is take an interpersonal approach to making these jobs approachable and accessible to the young people and the talent that we have in our state. And of course, many of which obviously coming through UConn School of Engineering program. So what can you expect when you go through one of our programs? everything from an increased value of communication, and I hope you've put some critical thinking into yours here this morning, maybe better listening, maybe better presentation skills. I'd certainly like to see folks improve their overall ability to present in a digital environment. And if anything, your team may just walk away with a stronger relationship internally. So if you're thinking about investing in your team and you're thinking about, hey, you know, it'd be nice to come together, let's do something third party, we can facilitate that. If team rapport has been down as a result of COVID and hybrid workspaces, let us do some heavy lifting for you, bring the team together and get the overall rapport back to where it needs to be. Communication is at the heart of all great relationships, and it's certainly at the heart of our relationship with you. So thank you for joining us here this afternoon. Thank you to Simon and the Tech Council, to Denise, to Jacqueline, to Mitchell and Sherry, Tom for chiming in, and for anybody else that's watching this. My name is Rory McGloin. It's a pleasure to be here with my teammates, Kai and Don and Lisa. And with that, I'm going to pause for a moment. I'll pull down my screen. If anybody wants to join in and have some questions for anybody on the team, we would be more than happy to ask. And if you don't have a question for us now, but want to follow up with us, we'll be happy to share our emails and get them out to you. So appreciate the time.
Great. Thank you, Rory. And I see in the chat box, Simon has opened up the opportunity for folks to send some questions to us. And I see a question that has come in. Let me see here.
Might be from me just soliciting some feedback.
Let's see. No, I've got another one here.
Cool.
Okay. So let's see. The question is, what's the value proposition for a company to work with UConn Professional Education to create a customized training program? Rory, do you want to try to answer that one? Either you or I can answer.
Yeah, I'll take a shot at it. I mean, what's the value proposition is, number one, I think you're getting access to relatively some high quality thinkers and doers. And I say that in the sense that this is where we focus our time. And I'm gonna juxtapose what may exist to what could exist. I think a lot of organizations have some great internal facilitators and have a lot of dedicated resources towards that. And if you do, I hope you're taking advantage of it. But not everybody does. And in some cases, as you know, you have multi-modalities, you have roles being played by a lot of folks in a single space, especially in human resources. We are trained facilitators. And one of the things I think, Kai, that makes a difference for me is being able to come in 100% fully dedicated and prepared to whatever your particular challenge is, using our resources outside of your time to go and to research, to learn, to understand. Sometimes we're doing interviews and focus groups, like we're polling and talking to everybody on the team to really synthesize how we can improve. Then we put it all together in a package and we show up and deliver it in a rather fun and engaging manner. And you will, in most cases, get all the materials to take with you and keep forever, so that if and when you want to partner with future facilitators around your team, fantastic. So to me, the value proposition is rather, kind of limitless in the sense that we're doing all of the heavy lifting and the work. And what we're oftentimes asking is to say, show up with your team, be ready to buy in, and we can make a huge difference in a short amount of time. So value across the board is as far as I see that.
Thank you. And I'll just add a little piece. So a lot of our students in professional ed, many of the companies provide tuition reimbursement. And so I think another value proposition, right, is, when the employer is investing those funds into that tuition, hopefully that also helps as far as retention and things of that sort, as far as the employees' level of contentment remaining with the company and what's been provided to them for opportunities. Let me see, I've got a couple that have come through directly to me. Is there someone that can help us post job or internship opportunities in your handshake program if we have difficulty setting this up on our own? Lisa, can you answer this for us?
I believe we've lost Lisa.
Oh, okay. So let me just pull that question back up. So yeah, she did sign off. She's had some tech issues. So yes, certainly I can answer that for her. I know for a fact that Lisa in particular has literally handheld for handshake and walked individuals through the process and getting set up on that program. So absolutely, that is something that we can provide to you. Another question that had come through here, what are some ways, what are ways an individual can build an alumni network, and what would the value be for the company? Don, do you want to take that one?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that part. Could you repeat?
Sure. The question is, what are ways that a company builds an alumni network, and what value would be there for the company doing that?
We build easily done. We have an alumni association that's part of the UConn Foundation. We track where students go to work. We know how many are in various companies. Companies often know for themselves whether they come from UConn or not. We put together gatherings off campus or on campus. We persuade alumni to reach into the student body to persuade people to come to the company to learn about job opportunities. There are myriad ways to do it. And there are also ways of engaging your alumni in your company to make use of UConn and all of its resources. So it's not only just finding employees, it's not only keeping your alumni employees happy, it's a way of basically exploiting all of the resources at UConn.
Great, thank you very much, Don. So with that, I think it's about time that we wrap up. I know most of you folks, you're joining us, a lot of you during your lunchtime. So we really, truly appreciate your time meeting and connecting with the UConn School of Engineering team. And we are here as a resource. Our contact information has been passed directly on to Simon. And so if any of this is of interest to you, we are happy to be of service to you and be a resource. So with that, I'd like to close and certainly wish you all a fabulous rest of your afternoon. Thanks so much.